Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel for yet another tutorial. And today we're going to be talking about tabs. Tabs, right? Not the kind of tabs you pay at a bar, but tabs in your iOS application. More specifically, we want to talk about the tabs that exist in apps such as the Facebook app, the Instagram app, and also Airbnb. So notice at the very bottom of these applications, you have 5 tabs in each of these apps, and they're all part of the navigational menu system called a tab bar. And it's really useful because you can have the user alternate between like one specific section of the app just by tapping on the button. And so today we're going to be building the same thing. Let me just slide over the simulator here, and notice we have a very similar tab bar navigation system like the Facebook app, and we have news, feed, requests, messenger, notifications, and the little more icon. So if I tap into requests, you see a kind of like a template mock implementation of what the friend request looks like. You know, nothing too difficult. And then we have messenger, notification, and more with kind of just stubbed out blank view controllers. All right, let's get into what the code should look like for the tab bar. So I'm going to slide this over here. I'm going to shrink that down and then go into Xcode. I'm going to slide up this project here that I got going. Open up this guy, go to view controller, and notice that I have a basic implementation for the Facebook newsfeed. So I'm going to run this by hitting Command R. And then you notice we get the Facebook feed similar to our mock here, but we don't have the navigation bar at the very bottom. So there's actually a video, kind of like a series that I have that I'm going to link below on how to build this specific feed. But having said that, it's not too important that you know how to build this type of UI. The important takeaway for today is how to build the bottom navigation tab bar. So going back to the code, we take a look at what we have in app delegate, and it is line 22, 3, and 4. That is what we are interested in. So what we want to do is, instead of setting root view controller to be this navigation controller containing this feed controller, we're going to use something called a UITabBarController. So I'm going to say root view controller equal UITabBarController, like that. And if I run it after commenting those 3 lines out, you'll notice that it's going to be a black screen with a tab bar on the very bottom. So that's kind of good and where we want to be, but we actually want to create our own implementation of a tab bar controller by creating a file like that. And inside this file, let's import UIKit so that we can get access to the tab bar controller. So let's call that the tab bar controller and subclass it as a UITabBarController. And in here, let's just provide the implementation for viewDidLoad. Space there. And inside of this tab bar controller, the way you set up your views inside of this pane, this panel, is to specify the view controllers itself, just like this, as an array of view controllers. Now the question is, what is that view controller and what is it supposed to be instantiated as? And the answer is, it is just these 2 lines right there. So I'm just going to cut that, delete that, and going back to what we have here, I'm going to specify this navigation controller as our first item in our view controllers array. Running that, you'll see the feed come back as the controller, except for we haven't specified this UITabBar class properly. And doing so, we use our custom class now that should show the feed. So that's pretty good, right? We have our feed, and then we have our tab bar down here. Second thing we want to do is to get an actual button and a title at the very bottom. The way you do that is you set the title like this, and what do we want to call it? News feed. And then you set the bar, is it tab bar item, that image? Your image to some kind of image that corresponds to the first button of the tab bar. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag in the proper assets. So I have this file called newsfeed icon, and it looks just like the little newsfeed. And it's called newsfeed icon. And I'll put that in here, newsfeed icon. Let's run that and see what we get. Okay, you see how the newsfeed icon is really quite humongous there. And the reason is because we haven't specified this icon as the 2x icon. Having ran that, we now see the kind of somewhat proper sizing of the icon with its transparency included. Now, the next part of the implementation is to get the second view controller inside of this tab bar. And so we do the very same thing. Let's call it second navigation controller equals UI navigation controller, and use our view as just a plain old, I think it's called friends request or friend request controller. I'm just going to use a plain old UI view controller for now. So this would be friends. I think it's friends request controller. And then we would have to change this title to say friend. I think it says just requests. And let's change the tab bar item image again, like that. And then we have to use a image that is going to be similar to this request image. And that is this request icon here. Now notice what happens when I drag that image inside of our assets. So the moment I drag this, instead of it being placed on the 1x, it's going to be placed on 2x because the file name has an at 2x at the very end of the name. So Xcode reads that and knows where to put it. Okay. Having done that, I can now use requests icon as the image. And here we specify second navigation controller. Cool. Now we have a second button at the very bottom, and it says request. Upon clicking it, guess what happens? We get a black screen, and that's because friend request controller is just a blank, good old UI view controller, which has nothing. Now let's implement our friend request controller really quickly, and I'm just gonna go new file. Let's just call this other controllers. In Swift, it doesn't matter what you call the file name, as long as you have your proper classes in it, like that. So I'm gonna do something that I normally don't prefer doing, and that is to copy and paste some code over, which I think it's maybe it's poor style for a tutorial video to copy and paste, but because the implementation is a little long, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna fully implement the controller. Hope you guys forgive me, just because in the interest of time, I'm gonna finish this off without putting you guys to sleep. So instead of a regular view controller, I'm using a friend request controller. Running that, you'll see, hopefully, the friend request view controller, which is that. And so I'm going to include a GitHub link to the entire source code of this finished project, and you'll just check it out to see exactly how this screen is built out. Nothing too fancy, just 2 sections with pretty much one cell that's being returned for each section. And we changed the label for the section header. Nothing too fancy, guarantee. Okay, now that we have that implemented, let's go back in here and let's do this. So if we go back to our mock, we have 3 other navigation controllers in here. So there's really no easy way of specifying the controllers other than to instantiate it like this. So what I'm going to do is just cheat a little and challenge you to implement these controllers yourself if you're not happy with just these template implementations. So I'm gonna pull in the remaining 3 icons like that, and then I'm gonna go back here and say what is this, the messenger icon, and then here we'll say that. Running that, we get our 3rd icon at the very bottom that says messenger. So clicking that includes the nav bar, but nothing in the view, which is okay. And if you really wanted to implement it, you can go ahead and create a custom controller to include the view. Now, the one thing that is important about about this blank implementation is that the title is not showing up. And that's because this title here only corresponds to the tab bar's button label. It doesn't correspond to what is displayed at the very top. And the way you actually change that title is to do one of 2 things. The first one is to just say messenger view controller, equal that. And then you can specify the title by saying navigation item equals, let's see, some title. And then if this is just like that, let's see, that needs to be title. And this needs to be an actual controller. So notice how messenger ABC is being displayed at the very bottom now. And then some title is some title is being displayed as our navigation title. So that's how you would change the top versus the bottom. And to pull in the last 2 buttons, let me just do that really fast, which is, let's see what the mock says. Notifications, nav controller equals UI nav controller root, UI view controller, and then this title equals notifications tab bar item image, UI image named notifications icon. And then let's just do the last one really quickly. UI view controller, more nav controller dot title equals more, and then our last image is UI image named more icon. And here we'll specify notification and more like that. Let's run it. Cool. So it looks like the navigation, the notification icon is missing, and that's because we are missing this globe icon. So that's called the globe instead. Running that one more time, we'll see the full entire row of buttons. Now let me compare that with the actual comp. So you notice how the buttons are not exactly uniform in size, because I just went to Photoshop and kind of just made these icons sort of arbitrarily. So make sure you get your designer to design icon sizes of the correct proportions to match up with the entire tab bar to maintain the consistency of the app. All right, now that we have that done, I'm going to show you a couple of things about this tab bar. The first thing is that you notice how it's transparent, and transparency is it's kind of a cool effect, but Facebook has actually turned it off. And for whatever reason that they justify that they want to turn it off, we don't really care so much, but we have to provide that translucency as well. So the way to do that is to say tab bar dot translucent equals false, and that'll remove the type of transparency that you see as you're navigating up and down the UI collection view like this. Let's see what that does. Okay, and okay. Let's see if I want to talk about this very last bit right here. Okay, so as a bonus to this video, we're going to talk about this very funny issue that I've noticed with the tab bar. And notice that this line right here, it's actually 1 pixel tall. And if you open up your Facebook application and you look at that line, it is not 1 pixel tall. It is, in fact, 0.5 pixels tall in height. So let's go back to the comp, and you can't really see it there, but it is the height of this horizontal bar right there. And if you look at how tall that bar is, or how dark it is, that's a sign of attention to detail that is lost, right? You want to be as perfect and precise as your designer's composition. Now, in order to change that height, here's what we would have to do. So this is a little strange, and I'm not sure if I want to explain exactly what it means, but what we're doing here is we are creating a think of it as another view. So CA layer is what a UI view is kind of like based upon, and CA layer is, it gives you more control of what is happening underneath the hood of a UI view. So I'm going to say frame width equals, let's just make a rect 0, 0 with, let's call it 1000, and this will be 0.5. And let's see, top border dot background color equals UI color dot RGB. And let's use something that is very close to white by specifying this color, almost white. And then here's what you have to do. Here's kind of the trick. Tab bar dot clips to bounds equals true, and also tab bar dot layer dot add sublayer to add our top border. So let's see what let's get rid of the width here. Let's see what the clips to bounds equals true will do. Notice how the actual divider line is gone. And then if I add this sublayer, you'll see a very faint line above the tab bar. So it's half a pixel shorter, and it just looks better in terms of a retina display. If you were to look at this line on your actual phone, you'll notice that it's very dark and it's a little distracting, is what I would say in my opinion. So that's pretty much it. There is one thing that I'm probably not going to talk about right now that I think of it. Let's go back to Photoshop. You notice how these icons down here are actually kind of gray, and this the color for this is the default non-selected state of a button, and the blue is the default color. So the way to change that blue is let's see, what do I want to do here? So this blue and this blue actually doesn't match, and let me change it to the proper blue by going back into Xcode, go to app delegate, and then I'm going to change the blue like this. UITab appearance proxy, bar tint color. I think it's just tint color, and I have the color here, RGB, 70, 146, and then 250. I'm gonna run that, and notice how there is a slight fainter hint of blue to this icon here. And whatever you want to change that color to, it is up to you, but this is how you would change it. So let's just make it really distinct by implementing a red color like that. And notice it changes really red, and it also takes over the color for the text. And that's how you would do it. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Hopefully you can now implement a really cool way to navigate around your UI. This provides you an opportunity to make sure your code is separated into only view controllers that are corresponding to each one of these tab buttons. It really makes your code cleaner if you can specify all of the view logic in separate controllers, and makes your code a lot more easier to maintain in the long run. Okay, that's it. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you guys, all of you out there that are watching and hitting that subscribe button down there. Really helps. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm going to include a link to that and the source code. And hope you guys keep coding, and make sure to let me know if you have anything you would like to be covered. And until then, I'll see you, and keep on enjoying the coding. Thanks. Bye-bye.